discussing on communication. So first we will see what is communication. Simply we can say communication is a process of a transferring message from a source to a receiver. So in this picture you can see the two persons are standing in opposite side. So he's the person who is a transferring messenger. So he's called source, and the person who received the messenger is called receiver. So it is a process through which the information is passed from the source to the receiver. So that is with an intention of bringing about a changes in the receiver. So this is the what we call a communication. So in this communication process, we can also say it is a consist of a generation of information, isn't it? So here the source is giving an information. So that is what we call the generation of information. This information is transmitting to the other person. He is a person who receiving the information from the source, and he is acting in the information what he received, and also he providing a feedback to the center. So this is the whole process is what we call a communication. So in a communication, actually there is a few elements which are called a speaker, speech, and the audience. Speaker, he is the person who is here, the person who is giving the message, and the speech means the message, and the audience means the person who received the information from the source. Now moving to the next slide. Actually, there are different types of communication. One is verbal communication and the non-verbal communication. So under verbal communication, here again it is classified into written, oral, and visual communication. So verbal communication, it is a nothing. Here the form of communication in which message is transmitted verbally. So here the message is transmitting in the form of a verbally only. Here the communication is normally done by a word of mouth or a piece of writing. So normally this verbal communication, that is divided into these three types called first one is called a written. Written communication is nothing. It is a written signs or a symbols that is used to communicate. Then oral communication, that is a spoken words are used here. Normally it include face-to-face conversation, speech, telephonic conversation, video, radio, voice over internet. All those things can be considered as an example for the oral communication. Next is visual communication. That is what you are experiencing now. It's a communication through a visual aid. It includes signs, drawing, graph, designs, illustrations, animations, color, and electronic resources. So normally it explores the idea that a visual message accompanying the text, is it? So here you are seeing a visual image along with some text is also there. So normally it will be used for the education purpose also. That is what I said earlier also. Okay, so that's all about the visual communication. And non-verbal communication is you are sending or receiving a wordless message. No words are there, only we are giving some gestures or body language, then our facial expressions. So nothing verbal communication is not taking place. So that is non-verbal communication. These are the different types of communications. So next is principles of public speaking in communications. So the different principles which we follow during the public speaking is shown in below. The first one is called articulation. Articulation means how well and correctly we form our vowels and consonants using our lips, jaw, tongue, and palate to form the sound that are identified as a speech. For example, like instead of going to, you can say like gonna. Then instead of using did not, didn't. So that are a few examples of good versus poor articulations. Next is pronunciation. The pronunciation that include how the vowels and consonants are produced as well as which syllable is emphasized. A good communicator, he should have the ability to pronounce the words clearly to the audience. The pronunciation is very important the word which we pronounce should correctly received by the audience. Next is dialect. Dialect is a variety of language where one of the distinguished from others by grammar and vocabulary. Next is clarity of voice. The quality of the voice is another very important thing, because our voices are unique to each of us. That is a result of our physical vocal instrument, including diaphragm, vocal cords, and lungs. So some voice will be very warm, sometimes it will be clear, some soft voices are there, sometimes it will be mellow. So different the clarity of voice is very important. Okay, next is pitch. Pitch means the lowness or a highness of one's voice. Next is rate of speech. Rate of speech is in order to retain the clarity of speech with the articulations and inflection, the speaker must be aware that there is a range of appropriate tempo for speaking. We should maintain a proper tempo for the audience. Okay, sometimes if the tempo is too slow, the speech might resemble a monotonous speed. If it is too fast, then articulation could suffer. Sorry. Next is eye contact. Eye contact is a form of body language which is very important during the communications. So these are the different types of principles of a public speaking in communication. Next is e-learning. A learning system that is based on a formalized teaching but with the help of an electronic resource. That is what we call e-learning. E stands for electronic. So what we learning today is we are completely depending on the e-learning kind of teaching, is it? So e-learning, that can also be termed as a network-enabled transfer of skills and knowledge, and the delivery of education is made to a large number of recipients at the same or different times. Hope you are aware about the term e-learning. Next is computer skills. Computer skills. Computer skills are the abilities and knowledge which allow you to use computers and related technology. They let you use word processing software, access the internet, manage files, or create presentation. Advanced computer skills would like to access databases, use spreadsheets, and even code. Computer skills are something very important for today's job. For every what kind of job you are seeking, they will definitely ask for the basic computer knowledge, is it? So what are computer knowledge you know? That is what we call a computer skills. Normally, there are two types of computer skills. One is hardware skills and software skills. Hardware skills, that is that helps you to physically operate a computer. That can be for example, we can say is how to turn devices on and off. Sometimes complex computer hardware skill is like connecting machines to network, changing parts or fixing broken devices. So these are the few examples. For doing so, such jobs, many employers are hired and they will train as a technicians with the advanced computer skills. And software skills means that is a that help you to efficiently use computer programs and applications. Examples like to knowing the basic knowledge of Microsoft Word process, that is a word processing program. So there are some examples for the software skills. Some common computer skills include analytics, social media, graphic design, Microsoft Office, spreadsheets or MS Excel, using Excel sheets, email communications, marketing automations, data visualization. So these are the few examples for the computer skills. Next, coming to the safety on internet. Safety on internet, from the name itself, it is clear. Actually, we know there are a lot of people are suffering from cyberbullying or cyber crimes due to the not because they are not using the internet in a safer mode. So this is a very common problem among us today. Internet safety or online safety, cyber safety or e-safety, that is trying to be safe on the internet and is the act of maximizing a user's awareness of personal safety and security risk to private information and property associated with using the internet and the self-protection from computer crime. So we should be assured about our safety while you use the internet. For example, like we should not post any personal informations online, like our address, email address, or mobile number. And always think carefully before posting the pictures or videos of yourself, because once you put a picture of yourself online, most people can see it and may be able to download it also. And always keep your privacy settings as high as possible. Then never give out your passwords. Then never make any friend you don't know. Never also meet up with the people you have met online. Also, you should think very carefully what you say before you post something online also. And also, it is very important to respect others people's views, even if you don't agree with someone else's views. Overall, I can say that if you see something online that makes you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, definitely you should leave that website, turn off your computer, and you should inform your parents or any other trusted people immediately. Okay, so these are the few tips to be safe in online. So next is writing skills. Writing skills are an important part of communication. Good writing skills allow you to communicate your message with a clarity and ease to a far larger audience than through face-to-face or telephone conversation. So how we can improve our writing skill? The first step is research basic writing principle. So that is one of the best way to begin improving your writing skill is to research some of the basic. There are plenty of resource online which will cover our basic advanced grammar, spelling and general writing. So you take more time to study such resources thoroughly. Next is practice as much as you can. So once you have a basic understanding of what you learned in your research, you can spend more time to practice it. Next is read as much as you can. One of the best method of improving your writing is always a reading habit. Then next is fourth one is seek out writing workshops in your local area. So learning with others, that is also another great way to improve your writing skills. Sharing your work with others, editing and learning alongside them can also be benefit your overall writing skills. So then working with others is also help you to increase your confidence level. The fifth one is consider everything you write as a story, because always a story have a proper beginning, middle and end. Always present your writing in a systematic or in a logical order. Next is edit your work. Remember to edit all the written material before sending to a publish. Okay. Next is consider omitting unnecessary words. So in your writing, there might be some words, phrases, or some long sentences which need to be omit. So all those things you should take care at most. Next is download helpful applications. So there are many available applications. uh, Download helpful applications. There are many available applications for both mobile and desktop that you can work out. So that is also a good practice to edit your own work. So using such application help you to find errors and also to speed up your progress also. So we'll move to the next slide. Next is presentation skills. Presentation skills, before we understand what is presentation skill, we'll see what is exactly a presentation. A presentation is a means of communication which can be adapted to various speaking situations, such as a talking to a group, addressing a meeting, or a briefing or type. So the nature of presentation will depends upon to that particular speaking situations, where we are going to meet any official group, or we are meeting our colleagues for giving instructions. So that will be depends. The presentation nature will be different. Now, what do you mean by the presentation skills? It is nothing. They are the skills you need in delivering an effective and engaging presentation to a variety of audience. So these skills cover a variety of areas, such as the structure of your presentation, the design of your slide, the tone of your voice, and the body language you convey. So these are the different wide area where this your presentation skills cover. One is the structure of your presentation, the design of your slide, the tone of your voice, and the body language you convey. Now we will see what are the different steps normally include in preparing an effective presentation. The first one is plan. First, you should plan what topic you are going to give a presentation. Next is prepare. So based on your topic, you should prepare the slides. Then next is practice. You should practice and rehearse. That is a very important step because fear is a common thing to all people. So you should eliminate your fear before you are getting into the stage. So you need thorough practice. Next is you should present. Finally, you should present in your presentation in very concisely and in a limited time. Never extend the time of presentation also. That makes the audience so boring also. So you should focus on the objective, and you should give a clear presentation to your audience. Okay. And after presentation, you should take the questions or feedback from your audience. Then only we can say your presentation is effective or not. Okay. Now, next is problems or barriers of a communication. So under this, the first barrier is a process barrier. So normally in every step in the communication process, there should be an effective and a good, it should convey in a very good and effective manner. If there is a blocked step, it becomes a barrier. Okay, that is what we call a barrier. So in the case of a process barrier, I can explain this process barrier through the example. The first one is a center barrier. For example, like if a new manager with a innovative idea, he want to communicate his idea to his higher officials, but he's not able to communicate it because of his fear of criticism. So that is here the center. The person is not able to giving a message to the his colleagues. Okay, so that here this example can be considered as a center barrier. Next is encoding barrier. For example, a Hindi speaking staff member, he cannot get an Kannada speaking administrator to understand a grievance about working conditions. So the encoding barrier, here the language differences is becoming a barrier between these two people. Next is medium barrier. A very upset staff member, he sends an emotionally charged letter to the leader instead of transmitting feeling face to face. So the barrier, the medium which he chosen is a very wrong. If you go and directly meet his boss, he can convey his emotion directly in an effective manner. But instead of that, he is sending a letter to him. So here the communication is not happen effectively. So that is an example for the medium barrier. Next is decoding barrier. If a person who doesn't know how to use a smartphone, then he has no access to it, will not be and all he's not that particular person is not able to understand the significance of a blue tick marks in the WhatsApp. So he couldn't decode what is this blue tick is meant for. Okay, that is a we can say it is a here the message is again becoming blocked. So That is an example for the decoding barrier. Next is receiver barrier. If for example, an extension educator, he want to send a SMS message to his students or project participants, okay, the person who are involved in that particular project. So, but in that particular project area, the mobile network connection is not there. So what happened? The message couldn't convey. So that is the receiver barrier. The person is sending SMS, but the receiver is not getting the message because of the poor network. Next is feedback barrier. So during a method demonstration, the audience may not ask questions, leaving the demonstrator to wonder if they have understood. So that is the feedback barrier. He's not giving any feedback. The audience is not giving any feedback. So how the demonstrator can understand whether his demonstration is effectively conveyed. So that is the feedback barrier. So next is physical barriers. Physical barrier means if any physical distraction has come, like for example, like if two people were communicating each very seriously, then a telephone comes. So that will make some physical distractions. Okay. Sometimes, for example, like a distance between the people. Okay. Then sometimes the walls between the people, that will causes some physical distractions. Next is semantic barriers. Semantic barrier is, for example, like the word we choose, how we use them, and the meaning we attach to them, that cause many communication barriers. Like word and phrases such as efficiency, increased productivity, that may mean one thing to the school administrator and something different to a staff member. The word is same, but the meaning perceived by the two persons in the two environment, that will be different. So that is a semantic barrier. Next is the psychosocial barrier. So under psychosocial barrier, there is a three important concepts are associated. One is field experience, filtering, and psychosocial distance. Field of experience means it includes the people background, perceptions, needs, expectations, like that. So senders can encode and receivers decode the messages only in the context of their field of experience. Okay, so when the sender's field of experience overlap very little with the receiver's communication, that it will become difficult. Next is filtering. Filtering means that more often that not we see and hear what we are emotionally tuned into see and hear. Filtering is normally caused by our own needs and interests, which guide our listening. Next is psychosocial barriers. Often involve is a psychological distance between the people that is similar to actual physical distance. For example, the school administrator talks down to a staff member who resents this attitude, and this resentment separates them, thereby blocking appropriately for effective communication. So these are the few examples for the psychosocial barriers. Now next is how to overcome such barriers in the communication. First, we should clarify the ideas before communicating. Next is communicate according to the need of the receiver. What exactly the receiver wants, according to that we should communicate to him. And beware of the language, tone, and content of the message. So the language what we use to communicate, and the tone, our pitch, and the content of the message, everything we should take care at most. Then convey the message that are useful for the audience and those that can be adapted to their daily living. We should ensure a proper feedback. Consistency in the message is also another important thing, which should not be a contradictory, and also be a good listener. So these are the various steps for overcoming barriers in the communication. Now next is telephone etiquette. It is nothing. If you call a customer care, what they answer to you. So that is a kind of a telephone etiquette. Okay, that is the first step is that we should answer the call within the 3 rings, and we should immediately introduce yourself and know who is calling and why. The person why he is calling, that information we should understand. then we should speak clearly, speak with an inviting voice pitch. Only use speakerphone when it is necessary only. And we should actively listen, and we should take down what he is saying. And definitely you should use a proper language. Remain cheerful. Ask before putting someone on hold or transferring a call. We should inform him we are going to transfer the call to some other, like that. We should inform them before doing such things. We also be and always be confident and polite. And at the end of the call, you should say thank you and wish for a good day while putting an end to the conversation. So this telephone etiquette is a very important one. In last exam, they asked for a short answer. Next is effective presentation. An effective presentation that makes the best use of the relationship between the presenter and the audience. It takes a full consideration of the audience need in order to capture their interest, develop their understanding, inspire their confidence, and achieve the presenter's objectives. So these are the various characteristics of an effective presentation. The first thing is the presentation ideas that should be well adapted to your audience. A good presentation should be concise and should be focused on the topic. A good presentation should have a potential to convey the required information. The fear should be transformed into positive energy during the presentation. To communicate the desired information, the speaker should use more of the visual aids such as the transparencies, diagrams, pictures to make the communication more interactive. You can use some visual appealing slides can be given. A good presentation must be planned. We should rehearse and practice the presentation. The speaker should encourage more questions from the audience. Summarize the presentation at the end of your presentation. The speaker must have a presentable appearance when you give a presentation, and also try to gain and maintain audience interest by using positive quotes, humor, or remarkable fact. The speaker must be affirmative and optimistic before giving presentation. The speaker must state the objectives of the presentation at the beginning of the presentation. So you can follow from today itself before you giving a presentations, because all these steps are very useful for your future presentation also. Now, after your degree, if you go for a PG, as a part of your course, you are supposed to present your assignments as a part of your course. Okay, so for that you can follow these steps for make your presentation more effective. Next is PowerPoint. PowerPoint, hope you know what is PowerPoint. What you are seeing now is a PowerPoint. I made this slide with the help of the PowerPoint. So PowerPoint is a computer program that allows you to create and show slides to support a presentation. You can combine text, graphics, and multimedia content to create professional presentations. So as a presentation tool, PowerPoint can be used to you can organize and structure your presentation. You can create a professional and consistent format. You can provide an illustrative backdrop. You can present your presentation in a logical order. Okay, then animate your slide to give them greater visual impact. Animate means it's nothing, you are giving some visual effect to your slides. Like you can give some visual effects in the form of an image, text, graphs, diagrams, and for the entry and the exit of each slides, you can give some transition and animation effects can be given. So such things makes the slides more animate. Okay, so these are what you mean by the PowerPoint. Next is OHP, or overhead projector. The picture what you see here is the overhead projector. So it is a device similar to a slide projector that is used for projecting the content or images on a screen or on a plain wall. Here, the source of the image is a page-sized sheet of a transparent plastic film. So in this picture, you can see a glass surface at the silver, you can see at the lower part. It's a glass surface. So whatever you want to show as a whatever you want to project the images or content, first you will draw it on a plastic film, which is called foil, and you will be placed on this glass surface. So under this glass surface, there is a light source is there, and there is a projecting mirror and a lens will be there on the upper side. So when you on the light, you can see the image on the plain wall or a screen. Okay, so this is called video project. Normally this is mainly used for the education and the business also, business purpose also. Now there is a LCD projector is also available. During my graduation time, we have a such kind of projector, but now we can directly show the PowerPoint slides on the white screen or a plain wall. Okay, so that is the benefit of LCD projector. So that's all. So thank you all. Please go through all the slides. I'll be posting the notes soon. Well, this chapter is slightly long, so you can study this chapter in a part by part. Everything is as simple, but the content is a little more, I know. So that's all. So thank you.